right, let's talk about functions. How many of you have heard the word functions before? That's conjunctions.
What's your function?
Alright, so here's what a function is. Function's got several different parts, okay? I think I'll set it up kind of like a T-chart for you. I think it'll be easier to see.
Oh, it's the input and the output.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. All right. So let's say I had 2, 3, and 4, and I had 4, 6, and 8. So a function consists of values. Some of them are input values, which would be my x, right? And some are output. But when we get to this point, we also describe all of the x's in a function as something else. Do you know what word we use to describe all of the x's in a function? X. All of the x values. It's the domain, okay? The domain of a function is all input values or all x values in the function, okay? And then we use a big word to describe the output or the y's. Does anybody know what that is? It's not Ramon. It's range, okay? Range are all output or all y values. And the thing is, range, when you think about domain and range, it has to include all of those values, okay? So, not just, the domain of this is not just 2. The domain of this is 2, 3, 4, okay? The range is not just 4, the range is 4, 6, 8. It's all the values that it can be.
Hence the word all.
Hence the word all, that is correct. Now,
Let's try an example.
huh?
Let's try an example.
Well, I got one more thing to show you. So, yeah. A function has a domain and a range, right? There's one other special thing about a function. Okay? And this is critical to a function. A function, do I need to wait just a second? Y'all got it?
You go ahead.
Wait.
Miss McGee, you got some games today?
About functions. To be a function, we said it has a domain. So it has input values and it has a range, right? Output values. Domain is X, range is Y. Here's the thing that is particular only to being a function. It can have one and only one output for each input. Let me give you a second to write that because I really want to talk about it because it's real important. What I mean by that, okay? Because that's something you really need to understand. I'm going to give you 2 tables here.
This is an example, right?
This is an example.
All right.
One of these is going to be a function and one of them is not going to be a function. All right. Copy it down first and then we'll talk about it. One of these is a function and one is not. So remember, to be a function, it has a domain and range, or an input-output. Both of these do, right? They both have an X and a Y. And it can only have one output for each input. Okay? So let's look at it. Thank you. This first one If the input is 1, the output is 0, right?
Divide by 1.
Well, we're not writing a rule right now. Right now we're just determining, is it a function or not. If the input is 2, it has an output of 1. If it has an input of 3, it also has an output of 1. And if it has an input of 4, it has an output of 2. So is this a function? Does every input have one and only one output? Even though you see the output repeated, does every input have one and only, every input have one and only one output?
No.
In other words, okay, y'all say no. We're saying no right now.
Yeah.
Look at the second one. How about the second one? Does every input have one and only one output?
No.
No, look at it.
What are y'all
If I told you that the input was, if I told you the input was 1, what would you tell me the output was? It can only have one output. What's the output if you have an input of 1?
Oh, you don't know because
0? You say 0.
It could
I
be
say
0 or
3.
3.
It could be 0 or 3.
What?
Right? Look at this one. Remember, only one and only one output for each input. Now look at the left one. What's the output for 1?
0.
What's the output for 2?
1.
What's the output for 3?
1.
What's the output for 4?
2.
Look at the second one. What's the output for 1?
0.
3.
Oh, there's 2 outputs for 1. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah, because it's 2. That's why I said 3.
Oh, if it's 1, it could be 0 or it could be 3. There's 2 outputs for 1 input. So this one is not a function.
So that's what we do for homework.
This one is.
So for homework, we just gonna put is or not.
For some of them, yes. Okay, so if you want to make yourself a note, the Y's can repeat, the X's cannot. Yes, Chris.
Have one output, can have 2 outputs. Like one number can have 2 outputs.
It cannot. It cannot. It cannot. This is the way that your book's going to lay it out, so I want to make sure that I show you that way. They give you a mapping,
Or they give you a table of things.
input, output, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, and 2. I know, just, we're going to talk about it. Remember, input is the same thing as X, output is the same thing as Y. Two, that's a 2. The pen slipped on me. It's a 2. All right, so you have to understand what this is saying with the arrows. And it helps me if I talk through it. What's the output for 1? We're looking at the
0.
first.
0.
0. What's the output for 2?
1.
What's the output for 3?
2.
What's the output for 4?
2.
2. Is it a function?
No.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Every input has only one output. There's only one. Every time you come here, there's only one thing, one answer you say. Okay? Well, let's come here. All right?
2 seconds. Okay.
Ramon, what's the output for 0?
2.
2 and 3. You've got 2 outputs for 1 input. It's not a function.
Oh, okay.
You see? Even though these 2 only have 1, this one has 2, so it failed.
So you can't have 2 outputs for one like input?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
You
So
get
that's what
one
I
output for each input. But it could be set up like this as a mapping chart, or it could be set up as a typical T-chart like before.
So
Okay.
It should be set up like long ways, like this all.
It is, but it's not. This is, you could also, if you like the XY chart, this one could be rewritten like 0, 2, 0, 3, 5, 4, 10,
But
5.
basically, you're just saying 0 is being repeated.
Right, and you see, remember, if X is repeated, it's not a function. Okay? This one, 1, 0, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2.
That's fine.
Y is repeated. Yes, this is a function. No, this is not a function.
Oh, so if the Y's are repeated, it's okay,
Y
but
can
when the
repeat,
X is
X
repeated,
cannot.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
yeah.
So X can't.
I still don't get it.
if you see this twice, it's no. If you see this twice, it's yes.
Okay, I think I got it. I'm gonna end up not knowing.
My brain is like
Wait a minute.
hurting.
The easiest thing for me whenever I look at it is going through and literally saying to myself, what's the output for 1? What's the output for 2? What's the output for 3? What's the output for 4? If I only have one answer for each of those, it is a function. But if I look at this one and I say, what's the output for 0?
2 and
You don't
3.
know.
2 and 3, oh wait, I can't have 2 outputs,
Oh, so you can,
so it's not.
you can have 2 inputs for the same number, but you can't have 2 outputs.
Correct. Correct. Back over to this one just a minute. Look at the first one on the left. What is the domain of the first of the function there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. What's the range?
0, 1, 2.
X is domain, Y is range. Okay? Don't forget. So our big concepts today. Functions have an input output, which is domain range, right?
Yeah.
And they have to have what? Domain range, and what's the last thing? The most important thing there. What makes it a function? What are we checking for? One and only one for each input. Okay? If you name an input and you get 2 outputs, it's not a function. All right. If I give you a function, like let's say I said y equals x plus 2. Okay? And I said I want the domain to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want you to make a table.
We did this. We did this.
Yes,
in the page.
yes, you plug them in. So you have your input side, which is your domain.
How you know what numbers to plug?
It's 'cause you
I'll
gotta
give them
get
to you.
every
It's like
week's
trial
one.
and error.
Okay.
You gotta plug in one.
And then, so this is my x. So to find y, I'm evaluating when x is that value. So, right, 1 plus 2 would be 3.
Yeah, we do this.
Oh yeah.
2 plus 2 would be, okay, and we, right,
This is
okay?
the only thing this week I've done right.